Hello students, and welcome back to another algebra video. You know what to do. Pause the video and try these problems in your notes, and then unpause it to do them with me. Okay, write an equation of the line with the given slope and y-intercept. Well, if we're already given the slope and y-intercept, this isn't too bad. If the slope is 1/3, that means that m is 1/3, and if the y-intercept is -1, it means that b is -1. So I have y equals 1/3 x minus 1. The end. Okay, and the next problem, write an equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Remember, that's what y equals mx plus b is, given the graph. So, first we notice that the graph crosses the y-axis at -1. So, our y-intercept, or b, is -1. Let me write that over here. B is -1. But I need to know what m is. So remember, there are two ways that we can find out what m is. The first is to take x1 and y1, x2 and y2, and do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is the first way we can find the slope. The other way is that we can count. Remember, m is rise over run. Slope is rise over run. So we rise between the point on the left and the point on the right. We rise -2, or we go down 2, and we run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So m is -2/5. And now, because I have m and b, we can say y equals -2/5 x minus 1. Do not forget your x. Don't just write y equals -2/5 minus 1, because that wouldn't be correct. You need the x there. Okay, awesome. That is a little review from yesterday. Now, let's go ahead and move on to what we have for today. Today, we're going to continue our work with section 4.1. Our learning target is that you know how the points of a line are related to its equation in slope-intercept form. So we're still working in slope-intercept form. And now, our success criteria is you can use points to write equations of lines in standard form. So yesterday, we looked at graphs. We looked at, given what m and b were. Today, they're just going to give us points. So we need to know, how are the points related to the equation? How can I take the points and make an equation? So, that's what we're going to do today. Quickly, we are going to review slope-intercept form, of course, because 4.1 is all about slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, b is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis, and the slope, of course, is rise over run, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And if the slope is 0, we have a horizontal line, which is a constant function. Okay, all right, with that, let's jump in to our first example. So, in this example, we don't know what m is, we don't know what b is, and we don't have a graph. All we have are 2 points. So, luckily, we know how to find the slope of between 2 points, right? I make this point number 1, x1, y1. I make this point number 2, x2, y2. And I can take y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This will help me find the slope. And in the last video, I mentioned when we were looking at the graphs and finding the slope, I mentioned that we were going to need to know how to do the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I mentioned that we were going to need to know how to do that for a future video. This is that video. So when we have a graph, you can count boxes, but when I have points, I don't know. I don't know what the graph looks like in order to count boxes. So we have to do the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 when we only have points. Okay, so we have y2 negative 1 minus y1, which is 5, divided by, different color, x2 is 0 minus x1 is negative 3. All right, clean that up a little bit. Okay, so negative 1 minus 5. So I'm already negative and I'm getting more negative, which means I'll do 1 plus 5, which is 6. So I have negative 6 over 0 minus negative 3. Remember, minus negative come together and become positive. So 0 plus 3 is 3. And can I simplify this? What's negative 6 divided by 3? Negative 2. So, and actually let me write that over here. We'll write m equals negative 2, because I want to leave some space for part B. So there we go. M, or the slope, is negative 2. Awesome. Now, I want to put this in the form y equals mx plus b. So I have found m, but I need to know, what is b? Well, let's go back and look at this slide once more, because notice, if I'm looking at b, or the y-intercept, notice how the point is always 0, comma, b. If you have a point where the x-coordinate is 0, that is guaranteed to be a y-intercept. Because if we're on the y-axis, that is x equals 0. Right? Because if I go to the right of the y-axis, I have x equals 1, x equals 2, x equals 3. And if I go to the left of the x-axis, I have x equals negative 1, x equals negative 2. But if I'm right on the y-axis, that's x equals 0. So the x-coordinate will be 0, and the y-coordinate is my y-intercept. So anytime you see a point where the x-coordinate is 0, there's your y-intercept. So because we have 0, comma, negative 1, negative 1 is my y-intercept. Because x is 0. And if x is 0, I am on the y-axis. And the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, or where the graph crosses x equals 0. So, in part A, b is negative 1, because that's where x is 0. Okay, and now we have m, we have b, so we put it together with y equals m x plus b. But remember, I don't need to write plus negative 1. I can just write minus 1. There you go. I think the hardest part to wrap your mind around is why b is equal to -1. Why b is equal to the y-coordinate of a point where the x-coordinate is 0. That can be hard to understand at first. For now, you could just memorize it, but I don't encourage you to memorize things in math. Don't just memorize it. Truly try to understand why. Why is -1 the y-intercept? Okay, all right, if you're comfortable, pause the video, try part B on your own. And if you are still confused enough that you don't want to try it on your own, that's okay. You can stay with me. You can try it on your homework. All right, so now let's take these 2 points, and first let's find the slope. The slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have, x1, y1, x2, y2. All right. y2 is -5 minus y1, which is -5, over x2, which is 8, minus x1, which is 0. All right. -5 plus 5, because remember, minus a negative makes a positive. So we have -5 plus 5. Oh, that's 0. Divided by 8 minus 0 is 8. Okay. And what is 0 divided by 8? 0. Some of you are going to be like, undefined. No. Remember, that's... if 0 is on the bottom of the fraction, it's undefined. If 0 is on the top of the fraction, it's just 0. We can do 0 divided by a number. That's okay. I can't do a number divided by 0. Okay, so we have that m is 0. Oh, hey, wait a minute. If the slope is 0, what do we know about this line? If the slope is 0, what do we know? Remember, if the slope is 0, we have a horizontal line, or a constant function. Okay, all right, but what is the y-intercept? What is b equal to? Well, remember, to know what b is equal to, I want to look at the point where x is 0. And if x is 0, the y-coordinate is my y-intercept. So x is 0, or when x is 0, y is -5. So that is my y-intercept. Okay, awesome. So the equation is y equals mx plus b, but I'm going to change m is 0, and I'm going to change b is -5. So we have y equals 0x minus 5. But wait, remember, anytime I have 0x, that's just 0. So I actually have y equals -5. And if we graphed these 2 points, 0, -5, and 8, -5, and we connected the dots, you would see that it's a horizontal line. Horizontal line at -5. Okay, cool. Let's check and make sure that we were right. Slope is -2, -2x minus 1, and y equals 5. Awesome. That's exactly what we had. So we are correct. All right, let's move on to our next example. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mrs. Dodge, our success criteria was that we could use 2 points to find an equation. This doesn't look like 2 points. Well, remember from chapter 3, what does f of 0 equals 10, what does that mean? It means that my input is 0, so x is 0, and it means that my output, or my y, is 10. So remember that when I see f of 0 equals 10, I can write this as a point where the input, or the x-coordinate, is 0, and the output, or the y-coordinate, is 10. So f of 0 equals 10 really means that we're talking about the point 0, 10. Okay, so let me write that a little bit more succinctly so that we have space to do our other work. So f of 0 equals 10 gives us the point 0, 10. And f of 6 equals 34 gives us the point 6, 34. Because whatever is inside of the parentheses is our input. And our input is our x value. And remember, f of x, or f of whatever, that's your y value, or that is your output. So we get the point 6, 34. Awesome. And now, look at that. I have 2 points, just like I did in the last example. So I can find the slope between these 2 points. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. And y2 is 34 minus y1 is 10 divided by x2, 6 minus x1, 0. Okay. So 34 minus 10 is equal to 24, and 6 minus 0 is just 6. Cool. And hey, what is 24 divided by 6? 4. So m is 4. Awesome. Great. Now we need to know, what is b, right? Because in the end, I want y equals mx plus b. But what is b? Well, remember, look at my first point. X is 0 and y is 10. So when x is 0, y is 10. That makes my y-intercept 10. When x is 0, what is y? That is our y-intercept. So we know that m is 4. Let me replace m with 4. And we know that b is 10. So let me replace b with 10. And there you go. Y equals 4x plus 10. And we're done. Let's make sure that we were correct, though. Find the slope, 24 over 6, or 4. Because the line crosses the y-axis, y-intercept is 10, so f of x equals 4x plus 10. Ooh, we didn't put f of x, we wrote y equals. But it told us to write a linear function. Ooh, okay, so we made a mistake. I made a mistake. And that's okay. Even the math teacher makes mistakes. Mistakes are a part of learning and a part of growing your brain. So, if you make a mistake on your homework, just think, that's okay. Mrs. Dodge makes mistakes too. Everybody makes mistakes. My brain is growing. Yay! So, if it wants us to write a linear function, that means instead of y, we're using f of x. Okay, there we go. And we fixed our answer, and now we have f of x equals 4x plus 10. Perfect! Awesome. Okay, that is all I have for you today. So, at this point in time, I would like you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 3, where 1 is, yikes, I have no idea what is going on. 2 is, I'm getting there. And 3 is, oh yeah, I got this. And if you're a 1, reach out to a teacher or a friend. If you're a 2, try the homework. You got this. And if you're a 3, reach out to your friends. See if they need any help. All right, cool. Here are some practice problems that you can try to practice the skills that you have learned in this video. Remember, the first set of problems matches the first example that we did, and the second set of problems matches the second example that we did. Alrighty, and of course, let's end our video with a launch, shall we? So, today's launch comes from Serena Williams. She is a famous tennis player, and she says, a champion is defined is not defined by their wins, but by how they can recover when they fall. A champion is not defined by their wins, but by how they can recover when they fall. So the takeaway from this is you, or a champion, you're not defined by how many times you win, or how much you win by. Your wins are great, sure, but the real thing that matters is how do you recover when you fall? Do you fall gracefully? Or do you try to drag other people down with you when you're falling? How do you recover? Do you recover with grace? Or do you take all of your frustration out on other people? Do you work hard to recover? Or are you just like, meh, give up, I failed, I lost, I'm done? How do you recover when you fall? I want you to think about this. The more that you think about these launches, the better your life will be, honestly. The more self-aware you are, and the more you think about how you're thinking and how you're recovering when you fall, how you're treating other people, you know, whatever our launch is about, the more you think about those things, the more you can control your actions and how you want your life to be. So really think about, how do you recover when you fall? Do you try again and again and again? Do you try again and again nicely? Or are you super rude to other people while you're trying? Like, how do you recover when you fall? That is my launch for you today. Take it with you as you go throughout your day. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Bye.